Okay, so this is the problem, different from the previous two. So in previous two problems, one problem we consider plane stress problem, next plane strain problem. So now it is axisymmetric problem. So like we mentioned earlier, in two-dimensional analysis, there are different types of problems. So that's why we are taken up the third type, which is axisymmetric problem. So here you have a shell. Shell is nothing but a cylindrical member having very small thickness. So here you can see the thickness he has given it as 6 mm. When compared to the radius, see radius is around 250. Here, here it is 400. Here it is 400 mm. Here it is 650 mm radius. When compared to the radius, the thickness is very small. We can call it as a shell. So now the shell, see here it is not a uniform shell, means the radius is not same throughout. So the radius is changing from 400 to 600. So like shown in this figure. Now the shell is subjected to an internal pressure. So it is subjected to an internal pressure of 2 MPa. Then what are the hoop stress? What is the hoop stress and what is the longitudinal stress? So we need to compute those two. So for that, so now since this problem is axisymmetric, we need to use axisymmetric elements for this model. And also we need to model only the element geometry which we are going to revolve to get this shell. So that is nothing but this one. So what I highlighted here in red. So that is same thing is shown here in this picture also. If I take this section, and then if I revolve this one by 360 degrees, I'll get this shell. So therefore, we'll make use of this axisymmetric condition. So in order to model any problem as an axisymmetric problem, so there are some constraints or the conditions to be satisfied. They are, first one is the geometry should be axisymmetric. So from the given problem, the geometry is axisymmetric. Then next one is should be the material property should be axisymmetric. Since here he has given isotropic material, so isotropic material will have axisymmetric properties. So that means since the properties are independent of direction in case of isotropic material, you can have axisymmetry. Similarly, the loading. So loading is also should be axisymmetric. So since the given shell is subjected to only the internal pressure throughout the cylinder or throughout the shell, so therefore the load is also axisymmetric. So that means all the three conditions are satisfied: geometry, material, and loading. So if all these three conditions are satisfied for an axisymmetric problem, you can model that one as an axisymmetric problem. So then to model that, so our revolving section is going to be only this one. So like I shown here. So here for this, I need to create 6 key points first. To create the geometry, first what I have to do is I have to create 6 key points numbered shown in this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6. So to do that, I should know what are the coordinates for these key points. So if I take key point 1, what are the coordinates for key point 1? They are on, see here I will use
x-axis.
So here you can see the origin is placed here. The origin for the coordinate system is placed here. So now first key point 1 is here, this location. What is the key point 1 coordinates? So it is in x direction, it is 650. Y and z are zeros, right?
Yes, sir.
So similarly for this point, that is key point 2, the coordinate are x is 650 again, and y is vertical height. From here to here, he has given that height as 250. So therefore,
250.
650 comma 250 for this.
250.
Then for coordinate 3, for this, what is the x coordinate? So x coordinate is 400 because the radius here it is 400. So this x coordinate from the y axis, the distance is 400. So x is 400 and y is, since origin is here, you need to consider this total distance as y coordinate. That is 250 plus 433.
433.
You'll get the key coordinate
683.
3. Then key point 4. Key point 4 is x is same 400 and y is you have to take the
Y
total
is 2.
distance. So that is 500 plus 433, 933 you'll get. For key point 5, your x coordinate, since it is on the x axis, y axis, your x coordinate is 0 and y coordinate should be this total height of the shell, which is if you add all these things you will get the shell height, which is nothing but 1333.
1300.
33.
Okay.
So, but here we required one more key point 6. Why we require this key point is because this is an arc. So here the straight lines, to join the two key points through straight line, I required only two key points. But to draw this arc here, I required the center of the arc also. So therefore I need to create the sixth key point. Where the sixth key point is located, so the distance between key point 5 and 6 is nothing but the radius. The radius is 400 here. So therefore, what is the location of key point 6? X coordinate should be 0 and y coordinate should be this 933.
400.
So
953. Okay, sir.
933. So using those coordinates, I'll create all these key points. Then I'll join key point 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 by straight lines, and 4 and 5 by arc. So to do that, I'll use the option that is end key points and radius. So I know this is the center, therefore this should be 400 should be the radius. Using that option, I can create this. Once I done that,
Okay.
then I'll mesh this. I need to mesh this one. So using our element, axisymmetric element, what we are going to choose. So we need to mesh that. So to do that, just I'll divide. See here, this side is 250 mm. So therefore, what I'll do is I'll define the edge length as some 250 means 25 mm. So that means this line will be divided into 10 elements. Accordingly, this line and this sector will also be divided. So once I done that, then I need to apply the internal pressure. So that is the pressure will need to be applied for all these lines so that you will get the applied pressure. Once you have done that, then you need to apply the constraints. So here we are taking only the half. Here we are cutting this shell here. So therefore, what you have to do is here you need to apply the symmetry boundary condition. That is nothing but here you need to apply ux is 0. And similarly here, to avoid that rigid body motion at this location, I need to apply, I don't allow the cylinder, this point will go upward. That means that y should be 0 at this location. Once you have done that, then you need to go for a solution. So if you done everything properly, then it will solve for you. Once it is solved, then you can go for the required result. That is what is required is longitudinal stress and hoop stress. What is asked us. So we can get those stresses also. So now I'll show you how to solve this in the software. Okay, so first we'll select the element. So whatever element you have to select here, it should be axisymmetric. So since it is a shell, what I do is I need to select shell here. In that, I need to go for this axisymmetric 208, so that it can be used for that axisymmetric analysis. So I have to select shell 208. So if you want to, what are the degrees of freedom for each node, all these things, you can go through the help. There are 3 degrees of freedom for each node. So you can see, you can go through that help document, you can understand all those things. So there no need to define any real constants here because we are using shell option. So we need to define the sections that we'll define later. So before that, we'll define the material model, material properties. So the material property here will take everything in mm. So whatever Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio is given, if you convert that one into Newton per mm square, he has given Young's modulus as 210 GPa. 210 GPa is converted into mpm is 210 into E3. Then Poisson's ratio is 0.3.
0.3.
Okay. So that is done with the material properties. Then I need to define the thickness. So here he has given the thickness also. Thickness as 6 mm. So I need to define the thickness through sections. In that sections you have an option called shell. Because our element is shell, you need to choose shell here. Then click on this layout, add edit. So then it is asking for here thickness. You give the thickness. So thickness he has given it as 6 mm. So enter that 6 here, then click OK. Okay. Once you've done that, then we'll go for modeling. So we'll first create those key points. First key point is go for create key points in active coordinate system. The first key point is located at x is 650, y is 0. Then apply
0.
Then second one is 650 and
250.
Okay. Then third one is here. So second one is here, third one is here. It is 400, and then sum of these two, that is 683.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
400 and 683. The next one is fourth one coordinates are, fourth one is here. X is again 400, but y is 933.
Yes, sir.
So 933. Apply. Then next fifth one coordinates are, fifth one is here. So x is 0. Y you need to add all
1333.
1333. X 0. Y is 1333. X 0. 1333. Then sixth one is going to be
33.
X is 0, Y is 933. 933, not 1333. Huh? Y is 1333, right? Etla vastund 1333 student.
Sixth coordinate. I am telling that fifth coordinate.
Fifth is already
correct. Nenu fifth coordinate.
Okay, sixth is?
Ade sir. Sixth ka aithe 933.
Then click OK. Okay, we have 6 key points created like this. So once you created, you need to check whether you created rightly or wrongly also. You can check that also. Once you've done that, then we'll go for the next one. See here, it will list out all the coordinates. First, you verify whether these are correct or not. If they are correct, then we'll move to the next one, next step. First one is 650, 0, 650, 250, 650, 683 is correct. Third one?
Yes, sir. 400.
683 correct only. So, okay.
Yes, sir.
Then
fourth one is 400.
933.
400.
Okay. So everything, I think everything is okay. They are correct. So then we'll go for creation of the lines. Lines. Straight line. I need to add these two first. Then this to this. Then this to this. Up to this portion they are straight lines. Then this is a arc. So
arc.
I'll go for arc. here you have option end key points and radius option is there. You need to select this end key point and radius. You have to select the 4 and 5 because those are the ends for that arc. Then you need to select the center. Then click OK. Then it will ask for the radius. Radius is 400. So enter that
400.
the arc will be created. Okay, right.
Okay,
So
okay, sir.
this is our geometry. Once you have done the geometry creation, then you need to convert the geometry into FE model just by meshing it. So to do that, I'll open the mesh tool. Then first what I'll do is, I'll see here this line height is 250. I want to divide this line into 25 elements. So then what I need to do is 250 by 25 is 10. So that means
10.
each element I will take edge length for each element as 10. So what I do is I go for here size controls. Here this is the size controls option. Under size control I can set the number of divisions for each line. So here you have a line. Just click on set here. I'll use pick all, means I'll select all the lines. Then edge length what I'll do is I'll give 25 as the edge length. So therefore each line will be divided into an elements of having 25 mm edge length. See, now we can see the divisions also here, but this is only the specifying the number of divisions. This is not the meshing. I need to mesh that, then only meshing will be done. So I'll click on mesh, then I'll click pick all. So now it is divided, it is converted into FE model. So now you can see that also here. You can list elements. You have elements and nodes also. So many. Before meshing, you don't have this number of elements and nodes. Okay. So meshing is
Okay,
done.
sir.
Then you need to apply the loads and boundary conditions. So that is go for loads. Then of course our analysis is static analysis only. So you need to select apply structural displacement. You can apply it on key points or nodes. Anyone is okay because we have node here at this location, at this location. You can use key point option or node option. So I'll use nodes option. First I select the node at this location and I need to apply UX0 for that. UX, if you want enter 0 here or else leave that blank also, it will work for you. Click OK. See here, it put a constraint saying that in X direction its displacement is constrained. Then similarly, I'll use the again same option. I'll select the node here. I'll click OK. Now here I need to select UI instead of EX. I click OK. So these are the boundary conditions for the problem. Then I need to apply the pressure. So I'll go for pressure on lines. I need to select all the lines because the pressure is applied throughout. So I need to select all these lines. Then click OK. The pressure he has given it as 2 MPa.
Yes, sir.
Enter 2 here. So don't enter negative value because it is already pressure. Automatically it will take it as a negative quantity. Don't use negative sign. See, now it placed the arrows for each line towards the body, means it is a pressure, compressive force. So that's it. So once you have done that,
Okay.
it is over. Then you need to go for the solution phase. I'll go for solution, then solve, current load step, then click OK. So it is done. So list is done. So once you do everything properly, obviously it will solve. Then I'll go for general post processor. First I'll see how it is deformed, how the cylinder is deformed. So for that, I'll go for plot results, a deformed shape. In that both deformed and undeformed shape I plot it. See, now this green line is going to be the deformed shape. The shell is deformed something like this, and this white line is going to be the undeformed. That means the shape of the shell before applying the pressure, the shell is like this. After applying it, it is like this. Here, if you want, you can expand it to full view also here using the symmetric expansion. So then I'll go for full expansion. I'll get the full cylinder also. See here, but in full view, you will not visualize that whatever deformation is there, you cannot visualize it. But in 1D you can see that. So in 3D, in expansion, you cannot see that. but only thing is deformed shape will be, you can visualize it, or else I'll remove that so that I can clearly see how the deformation is going to be occur in the cylinder. I'll go for front view. See now, you take a picture of this, how the cylinder is deformed. After that, you can capture this image and put it in your record. Similarly, if you want, you can plot the radial displacements also. Nodal solution, you can go for x component of displacement is nothing but our radial displacement. You can take this one as a radial displacement. Similarly, if you want to see the third 3D view for this, again go for that, go for symmetric expansion, then 2D asymmetric. So then you take the image, you capture this image also, you can keep this one is also in your record. If you want, you can navigate here. If by clicking this, you can see the shell here completely. See inside it is hollow.
Yes, sir.
You can see how the deformation is, radial displacement is changing, minus 0.63 mm to plus 0.64 mm, where it is maximum also it is showing here. Like that also you can do it, or else if you want to list, you can list those values also. Nodal solution. Okay, degrees of freedom, x component of displacement. See, you can see what is the displacement. You can list out like this also. So you have total 67 nodes are there. In those 67 nodes, where it is maximum, you can see here. Go back, come down to the bottom. At node number 6, it is maximum value is 0.6005. It is going to be at this location only. So or else you can see that also plot nodes here. You can go for plot nodes. Plot nodes. I'll come to the front view. Then if I give the numbering here, node numbers on, I can see where is that node number 6. So I will zoom it here so that you can see that. See, node number 6 is only at the bottom. You can see this is the 6. So this is going to be the node where you have the maximum displacement, not at the complete bottom. See here, you have 6, that is at the intersection of, or else I plot multi-plots, I go for plot lines. Here in between, exactly at the center, you have that node number 6. Or else you can go for nodes. You can sort out the nodes by its coordinate. You can see that where it is that node number 6 is there. See, it is located exactly at a radius of 650 mm, and in the y direction it is at 100 mm. So at that location you have a maximum displacement. So then you plot it. This is how you can list the results. If you want, you can list it. If you want, you can plot it. So you take the both and you write some of the results in record. You take tabular form, you take it and write it in your record also as a list results. So, and also he asked us find out what are the longitudinal stress and what is the hoop stress here. The goal is to find longitudinal hoop stresses. So that also you will get it here. So go for nodal solution. For that, what we'll do is we need to define element table here to extract the stress results for this element. You need to go for a define table. Then first I'll go for longitudinal stress. I'll give the label for that longitudinal stress is LTSR, or if you want, I'll use capital letters. LTSR for longitudinal stress. So here I need to go for sequence number and SMSC. I need to take it as 18. So this is the sequence number what is defined in the software. You have to follow only this procedure. Otherwise you won't get the values. Then click OK.
Okay, sir.
Then hoop stress I'll take it as HPSTR is the label for that. Again, I need to use the sequence number, and this one is for 19. Then click OK. So now two items will be getting added to your element table here. Then once you've done that, you can for list element table. Those two labels will come up here. Then click OK. So then you can see the values of longitudinal stress and hoop stress. The first one LTSR. This column is the longitudinal stress, and this HPSTR is this column is for the hoop stress. So now, if you want to see where is the maximum hoop stress and where is the minimum hoop stress, so maximum hoop stress is 325 and minimum is minus 143. So the corresponding node numbers also is listed here. So that you can note down here, and you can say you can identify the load just by node location. If I go for the list nodes by node numbers, so I can identify the location of this node number 30 from the table also. Similarly here, how minimum is 66 longitudinal stress and maximum is 117. So that also you can see that. So here, because here it is not uniform. If it is uniform, your longitudinal stress is going to be constant. But here, the radius is not uniform. It is changing from this point to this point. So that's why you are getting the longitudinal stress also variable. Okay. If you want, you can plot that also here. Plot element table. So if you want, you can go for this. You can see this is the okay. I'll switch off the node numbers here, so that you can see the picture here. See now, this red color is here at this location. This is the hoop stress distribution. You can take this picture also. You can keep this as in your record also if you want. Oblique view, or else I'll rotate a little bit. You can clearly see that. Okay, so further. Okay, so in this direction you can see where it is maximum, where it is minimum. Minimum is at top and maximum is at this location. This is for longitudinal stress. You take the picture of this. Similarly, I'll go for hoop stress. Here I need to select hoop stress label, then click OK. Now see, you can see hoop stress minimum is at this location, which is minus 143, and maximum is 325 at this location. So you can capture this image also, and you can keep this one is also in your record. So like this you can do it. And one more way you can identify how, if you want to see how the stress is going to vary from this radius to this radius. For that, what you have to do is you need to plot the graph. So plotting the graph is not possible here because the radius is not constant, it is varying here. You need to use third-party software, that is like Excel. If you take Excel, you will get the data here. So what you need to do is you need to take the element data here. You need to take that element table data. Just now I shown here list results. You go for element table and then list element table. So here what you can do is you will get for each node you will get what is the value of stress, longitudinal stress as well as hoop stress. So therefore what you have to do is you have to save this file first, then you need to open this in Excel so that you can plot it. So here if you want to save it, you can save it here. You can simply file save as, you can save this file wherever you want, you can save it. Or default, if it will be saved in your working directory. Similarly, what you need to do is you need to use the nodal coordinates also. This one also here, if you take this, now you'll get both the things. So now I can plot using Excel. So that means in Excel I need to prepare 3 columns. First column is something like this x coordinate radius, and then y coordinate is one y coordinate is LST longitudinal stress. The other one is hoop stress. So that means I can plot 2 on the same graph. So how it is going to vary from this bottom to the top, or else like that you can take, or else you can take the radius also. Bottom to top, I want to plot something like this from bottom to top, how the stress is varying. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to use these coordinates 0, 250, something like this. You take a y coordinate, identify the node, corresponding node here, and take the stress value from that. Then you note down that and keep prepare an Excel sheet. using Excel, you can plot all those things. So now I think if you plot, you can do that. I think on your own. I am not showing that you how to do that in Excel. If you do that, it look like the graph is going to, how it is going to vary, hoop stress and longitudinal stress also. I think you have a record with you. So in that record, the students are plotted those things. You can refer that record, how the graph is going to look like. So in similar way, you can do that also.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So is it okay now? Or any
Yes, sir.
doubt? Are you able
No,
to
no,
do
sir.
that?